Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi man wala. Amma ba'd. So we continue with the mindset series, and today is the second last lesson of the series. Inshallah, next week will be the mindset regarding general matters in life, and then inshallah we'll announce, or we'll let you guys know when, soon inshallah, when the next series will start inshallah. My apologies, akhi, we're in the lesson. Before we get into today's lesson, one brother today thought that I had mentioned something about him, and so he called me up, or he mentioned it to another brother, and the other brother said, let's call Nassim directly and ask him. And so he called me up directly, and I said no, and he said Jazakallahu khairan. Why do I mention that story? Because this is very important when it comes to things like mindset. These are the things that we want to instill in the people, and these types of examples we'll give next week a lot, inshallah. These are types of things that are important with the mindset. Where do a lot of people go wrong in life? It's wrong, having the wrong mindset in the particular issue that they fell into. What happens to the majority of people? If they hear someone is talking about them, they just say, khalas, this person, I'm not going to talk to him ever again. Why? Because I heard he said XYZ about me. And so sometimes they break off relationships. Sometimes there's issue between them. Sometimes one party doesn't want to speak to another party, and the other party that they have an issue with has absolutely no idea what happened. They don't know what the issue is between them. They don't know why they're upset. They don't know why they don't want to talk to them. They have no idea whatsoever. The brother's a beautiful brother. The brother's a beautiful brother, and anyone that would ever ask me about the brother, alhamdulillah, I've only got nice things to say about him. Which probably made it worse for him that our relationship is so good. Why would Nassim say XYZ about me? So when he asked another brother that also knows me, the brother said simply, call Nassim directly. Call Nassim directly. And alhamdulillah, he called, and it was clarified, and it was beautiful. This is part of the mindset that you need to have. How do I do in a situation like this? If I have an issue with someone, how do I go about it? The things that we've spoken about previously. I want to be a student of knowledge. How do I go about it? How do I go about dealing with my parents? How do I go about dealing with my children? How do I go about dealing with my spouse? How do I go about my work? How do I go about all of these things? It's extremely important that you have the right mindset. That's why we do these lessons. And like we mentioned previously, we don't want these lessons to be something that we attend, we sit for half an hour, you guys get a cold, عافاكم الله عز وجل جميعا, because of the air conditions, and then khalas. There's nothing, no practicality for the rest of your life. You don't want that. You want to come, you want to learn so you can implement. You want to come, you want to learn so you can be the best. You want to come, you want to learn so that people can see an actual positive change in you. And they say, Tabarakallah, this person is a person that I want to befriend. This person is a person I want to look up to. This person is a person I want my children to be able to look up to and say, Ammu, I've got a question. I see that, mashallah, you do this good. Can I ask you for advice? These are the people that you want to be. We do not want to be Muslims at all that come and attend, and Allahumma barik, their knowledge reaches the heavens because of how many lessons they've attended. But their ibadah is the same, their akhlaq is the same, their relationships are the same, their work ethic is the same, the strength that they possess as individuals is the same. We don't want that. We want only go better. This is another phone call. Allah musta'an. You guys think the da'i, if he doesn't answer your phone call, that he just doesn't want to talk to you? That could be a reason. Okay? It could be a reason, yes. But usually the da'i is busy. This is another thing with the mindset. Learning how to make excuses for people. Real excuses. But all of these we'll talk about next week, inshallah. Did he? Allah is It's happened before. Someone seen me and I said, why did you call? And he said, because I seen that you're doing live, I wanted to see if you're using that phone. I go, Allah yadik. I go, what if I was actually using that phone? Now you just cut off the da'wah. Allah alam, how many people? Allah understand. Some people, they've got the wrong mindset. This is what we're trying to fix. Today, inshallah, azza wa jal, we speak about studies. This is particular to secular studies. Okay, tertiary education, university, TAFE, etc. And also career choices, because they're somewhat linked. We're not going to go deep into career choices or to work. We've already spoken about that, alhamdulillah. But rather, the studies that people have in order to make career choices later on. Number one, think, experience and plan before you finish your HSC. So this is obviously for those brothers that are younger. If you are 17, 18 years old, you're in year 11, you're in year 12, and you still don't know what you want to do in your life, this is a big problem. And this comes from having a very bad mindset. Okay, or having a mindset that's non-existent in terms of what you should do and how you should be as a man. Go and experience what you're doing. A lot of students, when they have holidays, 2 weeks holidays or 6 week holidays, or better call so many now, 8 week holidays, what do they do in the 2 and the 6 week holidays? Before, they used to go out and work, and they used to get some experience, and they used to know what direction they wanted to take in life. A lot of the brothers, what do now? They use it as an opportunity to sleep in. They use it as an opportunity to play any games until 2 o'clock in the morning. They use it as an opportunity to be as antisocial as possible. This is not right. This is not what your holidays are for. You as a Muslim, you don't have these opportunities. Again, when we speak about your leisure, your fun, it still needs your free time. You want to have time for your fun and games. Yes, no problem. But you want to make the general outcome of your fun and games productive. You want to have time for your fun, games, relaxation when you zone out. But you also don't want to waste your life and end up like a junkie. Akramakumullah. You don't want to be that person. You want to be a person, okay, I know what I want to do in life. So when you get to 17, 18 years old, you want to know, okay, what do I want to do? Do I want to be an accountant? Do I want to be a lawyer? Do I want to be a carpenter? Do I want to be a mechanic? What do you want to do? If you say, I don't know, okay, why don't you know? That's the question. Why don't you know? The problem is always, for me personally, Nassim, is you haven't given yourself the best possible chance to have the best possible outcome. You haven't given yourself the best possible chance to have the best possible outcome. You need to go and look into what you want to do and do that early. And one of the ways that you can do that is through experience. You're in year 11, you're in year 12, you're in year 10, you're in year 9. You have holidays coming up. Okay, I have a feeling I might want to be a carpenter. Beautiful. Go to TAFE. Is it still called white card? Yeah. Go to TAFE, get your white card, and go work in the holidays on a job site. Ask your cousin, ask your brother, ask your relative, ask people maybe in the masjid, ask your relatives, whoever it may be. Say, I'm thinking of maybe being a carpenter in the future. Do you mind if I come do work for you in the holidays for free? Don't take $1. Don't even ask them for lunch. Get your mum to back you, your drinks and your food. Get your mum to drop you off. Go see how it is. Do I want to be a carpenter? One of the young boys, he's not here today, I don't think. He's saying, I don't know what I want to do after school. Do I want to be a plumber or a carpenter? I said, very easy. Okay, it's very easy to know which one you want to do. Go and work 2 weeks as a carpenter. Go work 2 weeks as a plumber. He goes, I've done that. Okay, which one did you like? He goes, carpentry. Okay, so that's it. That's your answer. What do you mean you don't know? You already have the answer. But why did he have the answer? Because of his experience. So it's very easy for him to make that decision. Some people, they go and they study complete degrees. They complete a degree. And then at the end of it say, oh, I don't know if it's what I want to work in. This is not a good mentality to have. You're wasting time now. You're wasting time. One brother, I know he'd done a whole law degree. But he said, I didn't know what I want to do, so I just done it. And then after I realized what I want to do, and he went, well, for it. Why did you do that? Did you make an honest mistake where you actually thought you were going to get into law and it didn't work out? It wasn't what you expected. It was too hard. It was too easy. You had a change of heart. Or is it that you shot in the dark, you missed your target, so now you're shooting again? Don't give yourself that problem. If you're younger, make sure you go out and you experience. Most of you, tabarakallah, it's obvious that you finished your HSC. Tayyib. So for you, this isn't as easy to figure out. Tayyib. But if you're in a position in life, you're 21, 22, 25, 30, and you still don't know what you want to do, again, go volunteer your services. Go to people that you think you might enjoy working in that environment and say to them, listen, can you please put me on for 2 weeks? Don't pay me a cent. All I want to do is come and see, is this line of work for me or not? Or if you have younger brothers, advise them. Younger cousins, advise them. Make sure that they work in the holidays, even if it's for free, just to learn that experience and to get that experience and to ask themselves, is this what I want to do or not? Some brothers, they say, oh, I don't know if I want to go to uni. The second they spend 32 minutes on tools, they say, all I want to do is go to uni. There's absolutely no way I want to work out in the sun on these tools. Impossible. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure I get a job in an office where all I do is lift a pencil. Some people are like that. Where did they get the information from? How did they come to their conclusion? Through experience. So this is something that we need to invest our time in. Number 2, speak to the right people beforehand and take their advice seriously. When it comes to you studying and you making career choices, speak to the right people. One of the greatest problems that we have in a society like ours nowadays is that there's no connection between the youth and those that are older than us. There's no connection whatsoever. We don't want to learn life from them. If we ever have a question, all we do is ask Google. We just ask Google, how do I do this? How do I do this? What do I do with that? And that's where we learn our life from. This is not how it's meant to be. Google, you getting these theoretic answers will never teach you life. You need something which is something you can never get. You can never purchase unless you go through, which is experience. If there's someone who's been there, done that, 40 years old, 50 years old, 60 years old, they've been there, they've done that. They've studied what you want to study, or they work in a career that you're thinking of getting into. Go and ask them, what are the pros and cons? To see, does it go in line with what you want for yourself in your own life? How much hours did you find that it took from your day? How long did it take for you to work for yourself? Do you advise me to get into it? Has the market changed? Have the system changed? Has the environment changed? Go in and ask them and take their advice seriously. I realize with some of the youth, what they do is they've already got their mind made up. But to make themselves feel better, they'll go and ask 5 people. They don't care about their answers. They'll go and ask 5 people and they'll take what they want and they'll leave what they want. This is not how you ask for advice. If you're unsure and someone knows, you go up to him and ask him, Akhi, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When he gives you the answer, take it seriously. A lot of people will advise, a lot of the youth, don't study this subject. Don't get into this field. It's not good for your deen. I made the mistake, don't make that mistake. Don't think, oh, khalas, I'm not him, I'm going to be better, I'm going to succeed, I'm going to be fine. Don't think yourself, tabarakallah, an exception to the rule. Take people's advice seriously. But speak to the right people and take their advice seriously before you get into any major decisions. Number 3, halal and haram apply everywhere. See it properly. Halal and haram apply everywhere. We've mentioned this like when we speak about things like holidays. Ittaqillah haythuma kunt, fear Allah wherever you may be. Unfortunately, again, a lot of people, they limit their religiosity to places like masajid, to places like being in front of their parents. This is not where your deen stops. Deen is everywhere, including places like TAFEs, universities and the like. You have people that would never intermingle, but they go to university and they intermingle unnecessarily. Again, I understand there's a necessary aspect. That's one thing, we're putting that aside. But unnecessarily, for example, they would never get out for coffee or lunch with a person of the opposite gender. But at university, they'll sit and they'll talk and they'll have chats and mawarif. A normal conversation with the person from the opposite gender, they'll never do it. Okay? But because they're uni peers, they're uni students, they're uni friends, you see them private message each other. It's not halal. If I ask you about a different setting, you say, no, I wouldn't do that. It's not allowed. So why do you do it for university? You send each other funny jokes, or you reply back to funny videos, or you follow them on Instagram, or whatever it may be. Why is there an exception there? There's no exception to the rule. If there's a need is a different story. Following someone and liking their pictures on Instagram is not a need. Jayyid? So the halal haram still applies. Don't be a person who outside of university, mashallah, your dress is very good. Inside of university, your dress becomes very problematic. Shar'an. Happens a lot, especially with sisters. Now, because a lot of the time before that, their life is quite conservative. Their dad's house, school, their friends are decent. They go to university and they're exposed to a completely different world. So don't be a person that falls into these issues. Don't start because you're in university having bad friends. Outside of university and when you're growing up, you knew the importance of having good friends. You go to university, you start hanging out with people that go clubbing, that drink alcohol, that gamble, that fornicate and the like. You know it's haram to have bad friends outside of university. It's also haram to have bad friends inside university. These things remain a constant, whether inside or outside of these things. Halal and haram apply everywhere. Number 4, a lot of people, they do go astray in these places. A lot of people go astray in these places. Do not think yourself safe from going astray. Learn how the shaitan works. يا أيها الذين آمنوا ادخلوا في السلم كافة ولا تتبعوا ماذا؟ خطوات الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين. O you who believe, enter into Islam completely and do not follow the footsteps of shaitan. Verily he is to you a clear enemy. You need to learn the ways in which your enemy works in order for you to defeat your enemy. If you don't know how your enemy works, how he's going to attack, then you're going to lose the battle very, very, very quickly. The shaitan is not going to come to you, mashallah, tabarakallah. Yani your prayers are upright, you pray your sunnah prayers, you read your Quran, you stay away from haram, you're a good Muslim, you're an upright Muslim. You go to university, he's not going to come to you on the first day and say, leave your salah. He's not going to come to you on the first day and say, take off your hijab. He's not going to come to you on the first day and say, leave the Quran. He's not going to come and do that. So a lot of people, they're going to university as decent Muslims. But then you see, by the time they leave university, their 3rd, 4th year, they leave university, they're completely different from the way they went in. What was the change in them? You can't pinpoint a clear change. Okay, this is the point where they went from being good and they ended up bad. You can't pinpoint it. Why? Because it was a very, very, very slow process. How did it start? From the beginning, following the footsteps of shaitan. Again, you have a group of brothers or a group of sisters, they're not the best Muslims. They're not good Muslims. Or they're non-Muslims. And they have the norms of the non-Muslims. And now you start befriending them. In your mind, you're strong enough to keep your salah upright. You're strong enough to maintain your Quran. Maybe you even tell yourself, I'm going to give them da'wah. I'm going to positively influence them. So you tell yourself all of these things. Allah told you don't hang around bad people. The Prophet told you don't hang around bad people. Why do you think yourself better? Why do you think yourself immune? Why do you think yourself an exception to the rule? You're not. So what ends up happening? You befriend these people. For the first 6 months, your deen is still good. Your deen is still very good, tabarakallah. After 6 months, the relationship starts to become better. Starts to become stronger. You start to become influenced by them. You see the hijab change. Some sisters, for example, jilbab, top to bottom, proper. They get to university, they start hanging out the girls that they like to, they're hijabi fashionistas. Their hijab changes. She doesn't take her jilbab off. But instead of the complete jilbab, she wears like the sleeve jilbab. And then it turns into, the body dress with a hijab like covering from, on top of her shoulders. Covering the front and covering the back. Then it turns into wearing the isharb, like we used to call it. Just the headscarf from the top. Then the headscarf from the top turns into the chiffon material, where you see her ears and you see her earrings, and then it turns into the air-conditioned hijab. Naam, the complete khalas. Oh, here is not from the awrah anymore. And you see the 3/4 hijab. The arms are showing, the legs are showing. Then you see, stop. Then you see at the end of it, her hijab came off. Why? Look at the bad friend's influence. Why? I never felt I was ready to put on the hijab. Maybe I put on hijab too early. I want to wear hijab from my heart. All of these excuses. Why weren't they present 4 years ago? Oh, I didn't find myself at that time. You're just lying to yourself. These are excuses that the shaitan is making you use in order to belittle the sin that you've committed. Look, keep your hijab on. Keep your hijab on properly. And find the reason why you wear the hijab. Why flip to the opposite? This is a big problem again. It doesn't come straight away. It doesn't come straight away. Tayyib for the brothers so the sisters don't get upset. Again, you find a brother who's upright. And we used to say, I don't even know if they use it anymore. He's a frigid. They use that term anymore? I don't know. They use it? Khalas. He's a frigid. Now my girl looks at him. Mom, I think I'm going to get married. طيب, the person has got nothing to do with women in terms of haram. He's very upright in that regard. And then again, the process starts slowly. He hangs out with bad friends. They talk to girls. He goes with them. Not the first day, not the second day. After a long time. And this is part of the trick of shaitan, to get you to think that, mashallah, you're strong enough to be around these people. Look, I've been around them for 3-4 months. Alhamdulillah, I'm not committing zina. I don't have a girlfriend. I'm not going out clubbing. I'm not doing any of these things. So you start to drop your guard and think, yeah, I can be around them more and nothing's going to happen. And then eventually, from the group chats, there's a private chat. From the private chat, there's a meetup. From the meetup, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Jayyid. It's a long process. It didn't happen overnight. And so if you were to ask that person before he went to university, what do you want from your wife? He told you, Tabarakah, I've got standards 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look at the girl that he's arguing and fighting with his parents to marry at the end of university. The woman needs Hajj and Umrah and Tawbah and Ruqya and everything. Why? What happened? Was it a sudden change? Did it happen overnight? Didn't happen overnight. It was a long process for the person to get there. So you need to be very careful. You need to be very careful in making sure that you uphold the proper Islamic standards, including university. And it is correct that environments are harder in certain places for you to be upright. It's correct. That's why you need to be smart in going about these things. And we're going to speak about some of the more specific points regarding this. You need to be smart about the way you go about it. You need to understand it's going to be a bigger challenge for your deen. You need to understand it's not going to be as easy in university or TAFE as it was in your Islamic school to implement your deen. Over there, alhamdulillah, even if the school wasn't 100%, it was quite simple to be a decent Muslim in your Islamic school. Yes, the Islamic lessons, there's Jum'ah, etc., etc., etc. Now you go there, it's a completely different world. So you need to be ready for that challenge. Again, this is part of the mindset. You need to be ready for that challenge. That I'm going to this place, I need to up myself. I need to be stronger myself. I need to know that there's going to be fitan there. I need to know that there's going to be fitan there. Tayyib. The next point regarding your studies and the career choices that you make, inshallah, is number 5, that these are usually lifelong choices. Don't choose a mode of study or a mode of study that's going to lead to a career where your deen is going to be very hard for you to implement. What happens with a lot of people? They always look for a way out of implementing their religion. Why? Because of life choices that they've made. I've married this girl and she's not righteous. Is there fatwa for me? I've married this girl and she's not Muslim. What do I do? I've married this girl and I've got children from her. She wants to make them bad. I'm trying to make them good. We have issues. What do we do? Or vice versa. The sister married someone who wasn't good. The sister married someone who as a husband, he's okay. As a father, he's bad. And they're always fighting. What do? So the person has made a choice that now is going to affect them for a long time. One of those choices that you make that will affect you for a long time is what you study in uni and then what you're going to work as after. Because it's very hard for someone who's chosen a haram career path and has built a career out of it for them to repent later on. It becomes very difficult. If you've chosen something where it's hard for you to be an upright Muslim, then don't choose it. Don't get into it in the first place. If you know, for example, let's say a female, you want to work in something that's going to require a lot of travel from you, and you know that you can't travel without a mahram, don't go into that career path. What happens a lot of the time? Instead of not making the bad decision in the first place, they make the bad decision and then they fatwa shop after. I heard that there's a fatwa that as long as it's safe, then a woman can travel. So when the Prophet told you, no woman who believes in Allah on the last day should travel without a mahram. That clear warning from the Prophet ﷺ that you are not allowed to travel without a mahram. You drop that, you negated that, you let go of that altogether for an opinion. A weak opinion. Yeah, of course, opinion. You get an opinion for anything. There's an opinion now. If you want ahlan wa sahlan, I'll get in it. It's very easy. It's a mistake that certain types of alcohol is halal. It's a mistake. It's a mistake. A scholar made a mistake. The ulama say, "Man tataba'a zalat al-ulama faqad zandaq." Whoever follows the mistakes of the scholars, he's going to end up as zindiq at the end of it. Zindiq is a person with no deen, yani a kafir. A'yadhan billah. Are you going to look for anything that suits your whims and desires for you to follow? You're going to find it. You choose, some people, they choose a career path in which their hijab is going to be compromised. They can't wear hijab properly. Why? Because it has to be tight, or it has to be at a certain level, or they're not going to have much business at the end of it. So they become forced to do haram. Like let's say she wants to become, for example, a beautician, mathalan, as an example, and she wants to become a millionaire from it. And she knows, like, if I don't do eyebrows, the women aren't going to come to me. And if I don't do laser, doing laser on the awrah of the women aren't going to come to me. If she's not willing to sacrifice for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, abstaining from the haram, then yes, she may say, I have to do it. Why? Otherwise I'm not going to have money. My business is not going to run. So I'm forced to do the haram. You weren't forced to get into that career path. You chose that career path. So you need to be very careful in not choosing something now that's going to set you up for failure later on. Certain brothers, for example, you want to get into medicine, Jayyid. Barakallah, if you're going to be in medicine, why do you want to be a gynecologist? Mathalan. The only ones that smiled were the ones that know what a gynecologist is. Yani, for the ones that don't, we'll simplify it. It's got to do a lot with working the female private part. Okay, especially when they're pregnant, etc. Okay, why do you want to work in that field? What, yani, out of all the things that you're going to choose, why did you choose this? I'm not saying that you wanted to do haram because of it. Abadan. But how hard is it for you to uphold your deen and not fall into fitna when that's your job 24/7? It's going to affect your deen. It's going to affect you as a human being. So stay away from a career path that you know is going to lead you down that track. Jayyid. Don't make the wrong decision from the beginning and then look for fatwa later on. Most people, you'll find, when it comes to them wanting a fatwa to do the haram, it's because it's convenient for their life. No one wants a fatwa for something which is inconvenient. No one asks about things that they can easily give up because they've got no skin in the game regarding it. It's when people have something that they want, they'll look for a fatwa for. Someone, for example, wants to expand his business. He's dying to expand his business. And he looks at his options and he says riba as the easiest one. The Shaykh, isn't there a way for me to take a loan because of my circumstances? Another person who's not in business, who doesn't need money, he's not going to ask about that riba question. He's going to ask about something else. Someone who's not looking to get married, he's not asking, Shaykh, can't I talk to girls just so, for marriage? He's looking to get married. He's not looking for a fatwa regarding that matter. It's about when you've got skin in the game, you've got something counting on this fatwa, that's when you go fatwa shopping. So when you've set up your whole life, a whole career regarding this, of course you're going to be fatwa shopping. I don't know. Good. See, proper, upright, cross your legs. This is my son, again, for the ones that are freaking out. And this is for docs, this is a joke. It's making people laugh. Didn't I tell you you're going to be tired? I told you you're going to be tired. So you have to now prove yourself by sitting upright. Good. Otherwise you're going to be your whole life sitting on the wall. You don't want that, Baba. Tayyib. The next one, number 6, and this is for the men and for the women, but especially for the women. You don't need to follow the system. You don't need to follow the pathway that's been set for you by others. Again, what's in the mind of a lot of our sisters? I have to finish my HSC, then I have to go study at uni. I have to. Why do you have to? Is it your intention to go and work in the future? Is that your intention to go and work in the future? Okay. If you're going to work and it's going to be something halal and you need to study because of it, khayr wa barakah, no issue, inshallah. But if you're going to study, why? Because society says I have to. La. be stronger and smarter as a Muslim to be able to withhold these pressures from society. Obviously, it's not nice when people speak about you or when you go against the norm. Obviously, it's not nice. But we're told as Muslims from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that these challenges are going to come. And what's the Prophet of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam telling us about the strangers and the virtue of the strangers? What's the point of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam telling us that a time will come where holding on to your religion will be like holding on to a hot coal? What's the point of these hadith? For us to post them on our WhatsApp status or for us to implement them? Yes, sometimes you going against the grain, sometimes we'll ruffle some feathers and people will mention certain things to you. Or certain people may look down upon you, but who cares? When you go through issues in life, they're not going to help you. When you go through issues with your iman, they're not going to help you. If you have issues in the grave, they're not going to help you. If you have issues on the day of judgment, they're not going to help you. If you end up in the hellfire because of it, they're not going to help you. So don't worry about what the people say. Worry about what Allah Azza wa Jalla thinks of you. That's what we're worried about. If we're doing the right thing and the people dislike us because of it, why then? So what? If you're doing the wrong thing and people hate you because of it, change because you're doing wrong in the eyes of Allah. But if you're doing the right thing and you're doing it the right way and people talk, let them talk. Let them talk from now to 1,000,000,000 years. What change is going to make in your life? Ignore it. Move on with your life. Attach your heart to Allah Azza wa Jal and inshallah their words won't affect you. Jayyid. When it comes to studies, you don't need to follow the system. This is for brothers and sisters, but especially sisters. You're 12, go to university. What do a lot of people say? She needs to go studies. For what reason? What do they say? That she needs to go get an education. The Lebanese love it. In case she gets a divorce. Other cultures as well. The Lebanese, we love this statement, unfortunately. Let her go study in case she gets a divorce. This statement is so stupid, it's not funny. And you can tell that no one has actually sat there and thought of what this statement actually means or what it entails. Let her go study in case she gets divorced. The taita who said that, or the mother-in-law that said that to her daughter, she's never studied a day in her life, or worked a day in her life, and alhamdulillah, marriage is fine. And the majority, because it is the majority, of women who are out there with the best of education and the best of jobs, the majority of them end up what? End up divorced. So let's start there. You're getting advice of a person who doesn't know what they're talking about. That's the reality. Tayyib. The sister who's going to university in order for her to get an education and possibly start a career, in case she gets a divorce. When she goes, she's got a big problem now in the back of her mind that she doesn't need her husband. It's correct. It's correct in a sense. She doesn't need a husband. If they get divorced, she's still going to live, inshallah. And he's still going to live, inshallah. And the children are still going to live, inshallah. But is it something that we promote? It's not something that we promote. Shubi takfiyya. You get divorced from at any time. Imagine the man saying that to his son. Or the mom saying that to her son. Like how you treat her bad. Treat her bad. Why? Because who cares? You get divorced and khalas. Or he's saying, save up money. خلي مصاري بجيبتك. Make sure you keep money on the side. That way, if you get divorced, you can always get married again. Who would accept that saying to their son? Go study, keep in your back pocket in case you get divorced. What happens now? Okay, there's no reason for me to really be patient in my marriage. There's no reason for me to actually put in effort to save my marriage. There's no reason for me to uphold Islam, and this is the biggest one of them. There's no reason for me to uphold Islam. My husband says no. As a wife, I should respect. If what my husband is saying is halal, I should be obedient to my husband. This is not my advice or his advice or my dad's advice or an Arab way or traditional ways. This is the way of Quran and Sunnah. And if the non-Muslims don't like it, khalas. Yani you people, you live the way you want, which is failing today. It's failing. And in the hereafter, we'll see who the winner and the loser is on the day of judgment. We'll see who had the better of the ways on the day of judgment. And we'll see who laughs at who on the day of judgment. No problem. You want to laugh at us and say we're backward. And no problem. All of your lives are ruined. All of your lives are ruined in this manner. All of your lives are ruined in this manner. the amount of divorces, the amount of unhappiness, the amount of rapes, the amount of sexual harassment. What are we following? What are we following? For us to end up in the same and say we need to follow that way. We want our women to be like their women. Why? Their own women are running away from this. The world now is running away from this. Feminism is dying. Because people realize it's all a lie, it's a fallacy. It's fake, it's false. It's a mirage. It's stupid. It doesn't make sense. It's illogical. So when they promote it and they say these types of things, and then when we come with Quran and Sunnah and people try and mock us for it, or people try and disgrace us for it, or people try and challenge us regarding it, yes, 100%, alhamdulillah, we have what we have. Alhamdulillah, we have what we have. Because Allah Azza wa Jalla created us, and Allah Azza wa Jalla knows the perfect structure for men and women, and how to live harmoniously, even through times of turmoil, how to come out the best on the other side. Not only for him as an individual, not only for her as an individual, but for the family unit and for society as a whole. For society as a whole. You complain about unhappiness, you complain about bad children, you complain about mental health issues. Talk about the reasons it's like that. Talk about the reasons that got the people there. Yes, Islam tells the woman in goodness, be obedient to your husband. Yeah, of course. And that's not something we shy away from. Yes, Islam did tell the woman that a woman can't leave without her husband's permission. Islam told her that, no issue. Islam also honored the woman by making it for her that she doesn't have to go outside of her environment into a place that goes against her nature. It's not conducive to her nature. That's why Islam obliges on the man to uphold the needs of his family. The man pays the mahar. The man pays for the needs of the wife. The woman doesn't have to pay the man a cent. If the woman is a trillionaire, she's a trillionaire and the man is poor, and he can't look after her needs, she's not obliged to give him 1 cent, and she can seek a divorce because he can't uphold her needs. And if she wants to give him sadaqah, then that's khairu barakah from her. She's allowed to give him sadaqah. Islam knows what is upright for the man and what is upright for the woman. And he made laws accordingly. When we go and we tell females, yeah, go and study, just in case you get divorced. What are you instilling in the mind of the woman? Khalas, I don't need this person. I'm not going to put up with this crap. Any issue that happens, I'll leave anyway. So what happens? Who did Islam give uqdat al-nikah to? The one who controls the marriage in the sense of they stay married or they get divorced. Who did he give it to? He gave it to the men. The man is the one who divorces the woman. There are exceptions, khula', but there's a process for that. Yes, a woman can seek a divorce even if the husband doesn't want, but there's a process. It's not as simple as she says you're divorced. Why? One of the main reasons is because of what? Because of the emotions of the woman. She's very emotional. How many times, yani you're not mashayikh, inshallah you get there one day, but how many times the sheikh gets a phone call, Sheikh, please find the fatwa for us. What happened? I was angry and I was screaming and I told my husband divorce me. And he said, okay, you're divorced. And I said, yeah, what's the issue? I don't want to be divorced. Why did you tell him to divorce you for? Why did you tell him to divorce you? Hey, this is the big problem. A woman is more emotional. The man is more rational. Islam doesn't hide this fact. It's not scared from this fact that is proven scientifically. It's proven scientifically. Islam, again, gave everyone what's best for them. So when the woman says, I don't need this person, I'll leave anyway, and she leaves, who usually ends up worse from the two partners? Always an exception to the rule. But who usually ends up worse? The man who's divorced or the woman who's divorced? The reality is, anyone in society told you the woman usually ends up, not financially, she goes and she takes whatever she wants from the husband. That's not what we're talking about. Psychologically, emotionally, in terms of future relationships, she usually ends up worse than the man. This is a big problem. They continue to lie to themselves regarding it. The man, khalas, dear, no problem. I'll get married again. Sahil, inshallah. The woman now has got big issues. mentally, emotionally, psychologically, regarding her children, regarding her family, all of these things. So we don't want to make it easier for women. Oh yeah, go get divorced. Abadan. We told the men, be patient with your wife. Don't leave divorce on your tongue. Be smart. We told the women the same. Now we're setting up for failure. Tayyib, she goes and gets a degree. This is now for those who have dealt a little bit with the community. She goes and gets a degree in whatever she gets. When she gets divorced, does she usually work in a field related to her degree, or she works something else? She usually works something else, something much easier and much more convenient for her circumstances, especially if she's got children. So you went and gave her 4 or 5 years of studies in order for her at the end to work in something that's not even linked to her studies. What were you setting her up for? On top of that, like what we spoke about marriage, usually you wreck her chance of marriage in the first place, of a good proper marriage in the first place. Why? Because you're forcing your daughter to go and study and to not get married in that process. So your daughter, by the end of her studies, is mathalan 24, 25 years old. And we spoke about this and the issues it can cause for now a potential spouse. A guy wants to get married, for example, he's 20, 21, 22 years old, he wants to get married. Who does he want to get married to? He wants someone younger than him or someone older than him? He usually wants someone younger than him. If she's 24, 25, 26 years old, now she's ready to get married, the husband usually is going to be about 30 years old. My apologies to the ones that are 30 and not married yet. But if he's 30 years old and not married yet, okay, we start to ask why. Is there issues with him as a person? Is he mature enough? Is he financially stable? Is he on the same level as her? Has he been married before? Does he have kids? If he's got the slightest of issues, a lot of the time the family or the girl, they don't want them. They say, I want to get married to someone on the same level. I don't want to get someone who was a repairable write-off. And now I ended up with him. Okay, or he's got factory damage. Why should I put up with that? There's nothing wrong with me. Why am I going to put up with that for? So sometimes sisters get married at a much later age because of this unnecessary process. Why? Because they follow the system. Again, be smart in what you do and how you go about your life. If you need to study, no issue. Go and study, inshallah, and get a job in that path, no issue, inshallah. Even in your career choices, again, if you do something, don't say, I'm going to work in this field and I need to be a billionaire at the end of it. Your risk is written. Your risk is written. And Allah places barakah in your risk. When you do something, you do a halal, Allah puts barakah in it. Your $1, you will feel like $1,000. But the person who goes through haram, even if they get $1,000, they'll feel it's not even $1. And ask the people that have been there and done that. So if you're a sister, that for example, brother and sister, but again, this happens a lot with the sisters. You're going to work in something and you know you're going to be limited in what you can do because of halal and haram reasons, stick to the halal. And sacrifice from the haram, no issue. Even if it means theoretically a potential of less money, no problem. If it's done properly for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, this is barakah for you. So if you want to be a beautician, but don't do haram. Like the eyebrows and lasering the woman's awrah, etc. Don't say, but if no one will come to me, Allah will send who He sends to a person. The rizq is in the hands of Allah. Success is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And even if you've done less in this dunya, at least it equals more for you in the hereafter, where it really matters. As opposed to, a'yadhan billah, more in this dunya, and equaling problems here, and then bigger problems, a'yadhan billah, later on. So you don't need to follow the system. Jayyid. Number 7, don't get a hex loan for the sake of it. The hex loan is based on riba. Even if they call it inflation, the reality is it's based on riba. So if a person needs that particular study in order to achieve a particular career, there are fatwa for it. We're not speaking about that. There are fatwa for it, move on. But if you don't need the loan, then don't get into it in the first place. If you can pay it cash, tabarakallah, pay it cash. Or you're able to borrow from your parents, or maybe someone, mashallah, in your family is wealthy, and they can pay for your studies, and you can pay them back as a halal loan, alhamdulillah, do that. But for a person to go and say, I'm going to go study this in uni. Why are you studying it? Heck, I want to. And you go get a haram loan because of it? La. This is problematic. And also try your best to pay the loan off as quick as possible after. Okay, try your best to pay the loan off as quick as possible after, because it is a riba-based loan. So you've done it for a reason, get rid of it as quick as possible. Number 8, try your best. This is not about halal and haram now. This is about good and what's better. Try your best to do something that's going to serve the Muslim Ummah. Try your best to do something to serve the Muslim Ummah. Whether it is you as a Muslim saying, I'm going to do something directly for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, or at least I'm going to use my services for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. Example, someone wants to do something for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. Let's say you say, I want to go and learn these skills so I can work directly in dawah organizations. Let's say you want to go study something to do with teaching and nurturing of children and writing curriculums. Why? So that you can write Islamic curriculums at the end of it. Mumtaz. That's working directly in it. Or you say, I want to be an architect. Beautiful. Be an architect, but say to yourself, I'm going to offer my services to the Muslim community. Don't be a person who's 50-50. If someone needs me, I'll work for the sake of Allah, but then I went into my phone and I'll delay it and I won't prioritize it, and then la abadan. Abadan. Say, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it properly. Again, you could be an architect making $1 million a year. Or maybe you sacrifice and say, no issue, I don't need $1 million a year. I'll do my work, till I get 200,000-300,000 at the end of it. And the rest I can sacrifice for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. Or for example, you're a doctor. You're a doctor and you've got your field, you've got your practice. Okay, don't be embarrassed to say, you know what, I'll go work in Muslim countries and I'll train any Muslims in those countries, especially the rural regions, on how to look after themselves, basic hygiene, basic medicines and the like. Go and do something, you pick a particular field, go and work in it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also. Either you go directly in that field working for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, altogether, or at least portion some of your work that you do for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. If you can, before your studies, go and see, what does the Muslim community need? Okay, I'm going to go do it. And I'm going to do it properly, inshallah. This is how the Muslims grow. Being a shaykh and working in da'wah, this is excellent. And anyone who really wants to benefit da'wah and benefit the ummah, this is my advice to you. Go and study to be a shaykh, 100%. But if, for whatever reason, your intention is that you don't want to be a full-time shaykh, no issue. You want to be an engineer, lawyer, carpenter, plumber, whatever you want to be. Also say, how can I, through this field, work for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And when you do it properly, inshallah. Number 9, be careful what you study and make sure you understand the Islamic perspective and stance on it. The field that always comes to mind when I speak about this is psychology. Anyone studying psychology here? Don't be embarrassed. Someone over there. Always this is the field that straight away comes to mind. Why? Because being a psychologist now means that you are like a mujtahid. You're a mujtahid, you've reached to the level of like a Shafi'i, Imam Malik, Abu Hanifa, Imam Ahmed, and above command. Not only that, you're an authority on the Quran and Sunnah. Meaning not that you explain the Quran and Sunnah, you take out and you put in what you want from the Quran and Sunnah. Understand whatever field that you study, what is the Islamic stance regarding it. I was listening to some speakers talking at an Islamic conference very recently, and they were talking about, there were two different speakers that are in my mind regarding what I'm going to say. They were talking about their particular subject in the conference. It's not a Shaykh Alim conference, it's something else, okay, to do with education. And two of the speakers, they were mentioning points, and sometimes they were direct ahadith that go exactly against what they were saying. Exactly against. Or their usage of some of the words to get to the point that they wanted was very wrong Islamically. But because they lacked in knowledge, they had secular knowledge, because they had a lack of Islamic knowledge, and they had secular knowledge, which they learned from the university, and they have a love of religion, they just use whatever the university gave them with like Islamic flavoring and spices. And this is very problematic. You can't just accept everything that the university gives you, and because you love Allah, yani, one hadith out of 1,000 that go against that theory, one hadith which may be used for, or a general ayah, and use it in that regard. Be very careful. And it happens a lot with psychology. Especially that which is not an actual science in the sense that it's something proven. Psychology, this is all based on theory. This is all based on theory. Some of the brothers and sisters that studied psychology, they told me one of the first things that you learn in psychology in university is that these are theories. Very little of it is based on complete facts. It's this person's theory and this person's theory and this person's theory. And so when they explain it, if you take it as a fact, and when you do with people, you say, this is what you need to do, this is how you need to be, this is problematic, this is dangerous, this is how a husband should be, this is how a wife should be, and it goes against the principles of the Quran and Sunnah, it goes against the ahkam, the rulings of the Quran and Sunnah, we leave whatever we studied at university, we throw it away, and we stick only to that which came in the Quran and Sunnah. So if you want to get into these fields, make sure that you know, and you ask, what's the Islamic perspective on these matters? You see a person, they studied a few years in psychology, and they come and they talk about matters to do with the jinn. And is mass literal or metaphoric? As the jinn enter a person, is there such thing as possession or not? Tayyib, what have you studied Islamically that gives you the authority to talk about this matter? Oh, there's a scholar that said this. I'm not worried about the fatwa that you again chose, because it goes in line with your already set belief that you got from Mr. Charles or Mr. Stewart or Miss Catherine at university. We want Islamically. What did these ulama say? What did these ulama say? What are the evidences? What's the strongest opinion? Not because that's what you learn in university, there's an opinion, you got it and you placed it. La abadan. Abadan, that's not how a person can be. Psychology is probably the worst one that I can think of, because a lot of Muslims are getting into it, which in one perspective is good, but it's also one where there's a lot of people that talk about the religion very wrong. And some of them, a'yadhan billah, say words of kufr. I think they're kuffar, they say words of kufr because of how wrong they are in certain matters. So if you, are a person who wants to study psychology, or you are a psychologist, make sure you understand Islamic perspectives before you speak about particular matters. Number two, if you're a person that needs to get to a psychologist or needs to go to these professionals, make sure you also understand the Islamic boundaries. General advice, jazakumullah khairan. General advice about how to think properly, how to deal with certain issues. General advice that doesn't go against the Quran and Sunnah, no problem. But that which goes completely against Quran and Sunnah, this is something that needs to be rejected 100%. And there's a funny joke about psychologists. Every psychologist needs a what? Every psychologist needs a psychologist. Allah musta'an. There's certain things that I really want to say about psychologists. I don't hate psychology. I love psychology. I love psychology. More favorite than that to me is sociology. The study of societies, and again, especially how it affects the individual. But when it comes to psychology, I'm not against psychology as a science. I'm not against these theories. Abadan. But when a person uses things which go completely against Quran and Sunnah, completely against Quran and Sunnah, justifying it through what they studied in psychology, and demolishing especially Muslim households, because that's where you see it happen so much. And this is something we need to be very, very, very much against. Also from the sciences that people study is philosophy. You see Muslims, it's not as much that we see it. It's not as common, but it is prevalent in some places where you find a lot of Muslims getting into philosophy. The ulama warn against getting into philosophy. What do they say about philosophers? The ones that studied the Aqeedah of the Salaf. They have the questions to everything and the answers to nothing. Now philosophy is just bring out whatever theory that you can and discuss it for 3 hours, and at the end of it say, Allahu Alam. Not even say Allahu Alam. This is what I believe. What do you believe? Okay, I could be right, you could be right. So philosophy is so dumb. Well, what did the Socrates say about philosophers? If you want to be a philosopher, marry a bad woman or something like this. He's got nothing to do with his life. So خلاص, go and think at a coffee shop. Is this bottle real? And they come up with theories on, is this bottle real or not? Uthman, is this bottle real, yes or no? He's a philosopher. Is it real, yes or no? Is it here? Allah Yusuf. He needs ruqya. Yeah, trick. That's the problem. This is part of the problem with philosophy. That's too simple. That's for the stupid people. The stupid people say, yes, of course this is real. But the smart person, he looks above and beyond. Is it really real? How do you know that it's real? What construct did you have in your mind that made this real? And what tools and measurements did you use to determine whether this is real or not? And who was a judge on your conclusion? Yeah. Habib, it's borrow. Tfaddal, you know it's real. It's, what is that? We are in the Matrix. I do believe that we're in the Matrix. And I don't believe that we're simulated, but we are definitely in the Matrix. So this is something, again, that we need to be very mindful. I will take it inshallah. This is something that we need to be very mindful of. Okay? That what I study is in line with Islamic guidelines, Islamic principles. Am I a person who can get into that field in the first place? Do I have the Islamic knowledge that I need to? Do I have someone that I can go back and ask questions to if I fall into issues? And the majority of the time, the answer for the majority of people is no. Is no. So be very careful, again, thinking that you're better than the system. The final one is be realistic. Be realistic in terms of your studies, in whether it's tertiary education or it's your career choice. Be realistic. Is this something that you want to meet Allah Azza wa Jalla with? Is this something which is conducive to your deen? Is something which is conducive to your iman? Or do you need a change? Don't be scared to change. There was one brother, I haven't seen him in a long time, but he was an accountant and he became a plumber. Very rare. He was an accountant, a successful accountant, but he didn't like it. He wanted to become a plumber. He changed because he didn't like accounting, and he always wanted to be a plumber. That's what he wanted to do. Don't be scared to change for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't be scared to change for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. People spoke against him. Are you majnoon? You're going to leave being an accountant to being a plumber? And at that time, plumbers weren't getting the wages that they're getting now. He done it because he loved it. Okay, and you hear all of these people, oh, follow your dreams, blah, blah, blah. Put all of that aside. Do things that are necessary for your deen. If that means changing what I'm studying, or it means changing my career, or it means working my studies and my career in a particular way, do it. There are many options today, even studies online, etc., etc., etc. You choose what's best for you in your religion. I don't want a mass exodus from universities with people saying, oh, Nassim said, no. If you're going to leave university, please ask me first so I can know your circumstances. And I'm going to tell you, no, don't leave university. Why do I say that particularly? So that, again, no one says to their parents, I'm leaving and it's Nassim's fault. I don't want that to happen. Okay? But just do the right thing as you're doing it. Make the right choices before you get into it. Understand the choices that I make now, how are they going to impact me later on? What are the consequences of my decisions, both positive and negative? And if you've already started wrong, fix it. And alhamdulillah, you have time. And if you haven't made the choice yet, make the right one. Allah Azza wa Jalla assist you, myself and yourselves in making these right decisions and living a life that is pleasing to Him and dying upon that. We'll go mention them again. Number one, think, experience and plan before you finish your HSC so that you know what you want to do in life, so you don't waste time. Number two, speak to the right people beforehand and take their advice seriously. Number three, halal and haram apply everywhere. Number four, a lot of people go astray in these institutes. Never think yourself immune. Don't follow the footsteps of shaitan. Number five, these are usually lifelong choices. Don't choose haram ones where implementing your deen is going to be very hard at the end of it. Number six, you don't need to follow the system, especially for women. Number seven, don't get a hex loan for the sake of it because it's riba based. If you need it, there's fatwa for it, as I mentioned. We're not talking about the halal haram aspect of it. But if you don't need it, then no, don't go and get it. Whether you pay it yourself or you don't study that course because you don't need it in the first place. Jayyid. Number 8, do something for the sake of Allah. Whether you want to study and work directly involved in da'wah, or you work a field, whatever that field is, but dedicate some time for the sake of Allah, especially using the skills that you have for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number 9, be careful what you study. Make sure you understand the Islamic perspective and stance on it, or stances regarding it. And number 10, be realistic in the decisions that you're making and the decisions that you've already made. هذا والله أعلم. صلى الله على محمد وعلى آله محمد وصحبه أجمعين.